Someone says, oh, I bought a Bitcoin, I bought it for 5, it's now 10. Or someone says, I bought it for 5, it's now 2.
Guilty.
Whenever earlier disruptive changes happened, say in the last 2 centuries, India was sort of out of the picture. As I said, the world I come from, broadcast TV, it's very standard. You know, you sit down in the evening and you wear your jacket and you say hello and welcome, and then you get 4-5 guys in, and then you create a few windows, and then you talk. And then everybody talks.
And nobody listens.
Nobody listens. Look at what you have. You have Great Britain with an Indian origin Prime Minister, Scotland with a Pakistan origin Prime Minister, London with a Pakistan origin mayor. India, I believe, has about 6% of the global reserves of rare earth metals. But we've barely exploited them. We import almost 95% of our rare earth metals. China, on the other hand, saw it as a huge opportunity. They thought next. They really leapt next and thought next.
Hello and welcome to the Quint. Welcome to this special podcast. And today I have the editor-in-chief of our company, Mr. Raghav Bahl. Hello.
Hello, Pratik. Good to be here.
Welcome to this podcast.
Yes, I just figured out what a podcast is.
Yes. So if you want to explain to our young viewers what it is.
In 30 years ago when I started my career in broadcast TV, we used to call it a video interview. Now you guys call it a vodcast.
Yes, slang for everything.
Yeah. So I'm game.
Yes. And we are here to talk about this new property that we are starting. It's called Think.NXT. So why don't you tell us about it, what it is?
Well, Think.NXT is just literally a look into the future, a gaze into the future. Because the 21st century, which is barely, 22 years old right now, it's got a long way to go. But what is clear, that in this century, the pace of change, disruptive change, is going to be quicker than humankind has ever seen. But that's a given, right? So there's what's new, you would ask about it. Well, A, it's very quick. B, it's going to be multidimensional. It's going to be the way we live. It's going to be the way we travel. It's going to be the way we talk, where we engage, where we even intelligence, how we engage with our own intelligence and artificial intelligence and all of that. So that's one element of the change. But more importantly, from Think.NXT's perspective, whenever earlier disruptive changes happened, say in the last 2 centuries, India was sort of out of the picture. Industrial revolution happened, we were colonized, we didn't have any technology. Then in the mid-20th century, when all the other changes that were happening, we were passive recipients of change.
True.
Right? We were just, the internet was sort of invented and discovered somewhere, and then we caught on. We inherited, we caught on to the coattails, and as the world changed, we sort of followed. So we were always following. We were always passive recipients. That's going to change now in the 21st century. And it's going to change along 2 dimensions. Number one, we today have the talent pool. Your podcasts, the Quint's content is pretty much where the rest of the world is, right? We're not way behind, or we're not lagging way behind.
We're setting the standards
At least
in a lot of ways.
Abreast. We are abreast with the standard. Sometimes we set the standard, sometimes somebody else sets the standard, but we are abreast.
They're in the conversation.
Exactly. We're not following. So I think that's a big change. That in India today, you have the talent pool, that you are abreast. You are at the baseline. You're at the baseline with everybody else. Whether it's clean energy, whether it's, maybe not artificial intelligence, but certainly a lot of other digital...
I would say.
Technology. So you're at the baseline with the others. And the second most important factor there, why we need to think next, is that at this intersection, India is also a leading voice today in the regulatory architecture, in the laws that will govern this change. Earlier, again, we were just passive recipients of the laws. If someone said, this is the internet standard, this is the internet standard, India followed. This is the automobile standard, this is the automobile standard, and India followed. But in all these new areas, as regulations evolve, as the architecture evolves, as laws evolve, as international exchange evolves between countries, India will have a voice. India will be able to influence. India will be able, therefore, also to in a sense, navigate the evolution. So we believe that since this intersection is so strong, this intersection of new technology, disruptive technology, and India's ability to participate at the baseline and also to navigate the laws and regulations. Therefore, we need to think next. And that's what we are going to do.
So what shape are these conversations? Are these, demonstrations? What shape are you thinking that this thing will take?
Okay, so one is of course going to be vodcasts
Yes.
with the people who know their stuff.
Yeah.
But also there'll be a lot of social media collaterals around the core product or the core offering. We'll also be quite, we don't want to tie ourselves into a format. We don't want to be bound like as I said, the world I come from, broadcast TV. It's very standard. You sit down in the evening and you wear your jacket and you say hello and welcome, and then you get 4 or 5 guys in, and then you create a few windows and then you talk. And then everybody talks.
And nobody listens.
Nobody listens. So we don't want to be bound into any format. I think we'll do these podcasts, we'll do these one-on-one chats, we'll do stand-ups, we'll do social media collateral, we'll do cards, we'll do reels. Pretty much
Anything and everything.
Pretty much, as long as we are reaching our target audience, as long as they are happy to consume us in 30-second bites, in 30-minute shows.
Or 2-hour podcasts.
That's somewhere I won't go.
That's somewhere I vouch for.
Why close your mind?
Exactly.
Maybe someday we'll do a 2-hour.
Interesting. So you talked about the target group of Think.NXT. What do you think is this property for? Who should be listening and consuming these content
I think
pieces?
people with a stake in the 21st century, which is young people.
Interesting.
Which is really young people, because people at my age, we've probably got a decade or so left. But people who are your age have got half a century ahead of you. So I think it's the stakeholders of the 21st century with a particular interest in how India takes it forward. So this is from Indian eyes. It's a global phenomenon. It's a global search. It's a global quest, but from Indian eyes. And I don't want to, when I say Indian eyes, I don't want to say that this is going to be a local show. It's not. The editorial is not local. The quest is not local. The quest is international. But it's just that they'll be from an India lens.
Again, because India is going to be dictating so many of these things.
Exactly. India is now global.
So,
we're no longer that third world country which is tucked somewhere and
true.
It'll find its way. It'll come abreast. No, I think we're going to be clearly influencing this change.
And why should these, as a young person, the content online is saturated? When it comes to technology, when it comes to ethics, when it comes to environment, there are 1,000 places to watch 1,000 things, right? But why should I watch things?
Listen, I think that, the fact that there is so much available is actually counterintuitively creates the need for something which is specific and something which is intelligent and something which is distilled. Because there is so much,
exactly,
you go looking for that nugget, which explains it to you clearly without obfuscating the issue. We hope we will be that kind of the nugget. So counterintuitively, if we were the only guy in town, we possibly would not have been so sought after. But since we are going to be one drop in an ocean, but hopefully that clean drop and we will show up in the search, and more importantly in your world of social media and the young people's world of social media, word of mouth. It's word of mouth, what you guys call virality. We in our time used to call it word of mouth.
Another slang. Interesting. So while developing this show, what are some of the conversations that you had that blew your mind?
So we had,
and what are some people that you talked to?
Yeah, well, we're still evolving the processes. But some of the subjects we've looked at is obviously a cryptocurrency. But cryptocurrency is such a hugely ununderstood subject.
Exactly.
Someone says, "Oh, I bought a Bitcoin. I bought it for 5. It's now 10." Or someone says, "I bought it for 5. It's now 2."
Guilty.
But cryptocurrency is not Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is not cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is a phenomenon, and therefore we look at it as a phenomenon, as an economic phenomenon, as a technological phenomenon, as a phenomenon which also can dictate the evolution of assets and currencies in the world in the 21st century. For instance, a theory that I quite believe in myself, and I think I've sort of thought of it more than some of the others have, is really when will a crypto coin or a non-fungible token get value? I mean, it can get a value because you decided to buy it and you lost some money, or your friend bought it and made some money. But that's not fundamental to when it gets a value. My thesis is the day laws and exchanges and technology evolves. Technology has, I think laws are lagging
behind.
I think laws are lagging. But if the laws catch up and allow you to convert cash flow assets into tradable coins, if the ownership of that cash flow is vested in a coin and a token, and that token can then be traded, I believe that would be the next stage of asset trading. Today we are trading stocks of companies. Then we'll start trading assets with underlying cash flows.
Interesting.
With the ownership of that asset vested in the digital coin. And that's when I believe cryptocurrency will become a phenomenon. And as I said, I think technology is there. It's just the laws. I think laws have to catch up. So these are the issues we look at. We also looked at the whole phenomenon of privatization of industries and markets. Now you may say it's an old subject.
Exactly.
It's an old subject, but in the 21st century, unless you can have perfectly competitive markets and assets which are valued on their core intrinsic value, not on their ownership, not the fact that the government owns it or can then create special laws around it and then vest special values in it. So we looked at that, how it's a challenge for India, because India is still trapped quite a bit in that in that mixed sort of phase. We've looked at the whole phenomenon of do you know what rare earth metals are? So rare earth metals are actually driving what we are doing. I mean, if people are going to see us on a phone, the technology that's driving that phone are these rare earth metals, 17, 18 of them. Very, you can't pronounce them. Probably you can, I can't. Tritium and yttrium.
The bottom of the periodic table.
Exactly. But now rare earth, India, I believe, has about 6% of the global reserves of rare earth metals. But we've barely exploited them. We import almost 95% of our rare earth metals.
So even though it's not that rare in India.
Exactly. It's not rare in India at all. But we haven't exploited it. Now, what happened about 10 years ago, almost 12 years ago, when the world really sat up and took notice? Nobody bothered to exploit these rare earth metals. China, on the other hand, saw it as a huge opportunity.
They thought next.
They thought next. They really leapt next and thought next. In fact, Deng Xiaoping, when he was authoring the Chinese Revolution in the 80s, he actually said, what oil is to the Middle East, rare earth metals are to China. So he really exploited it. Of course, the Chinese did it their way. They didn't have too many environmental standards and all of that. So they made the cost very low. They exploited workers, all of that stuff. But the net result of it was they made rare earth so cheap that America, India, everyone's got addicted to cheap Chinese rare earth metals, did not exploit their own industry. And then China in about, I think it was 10 years back, suddenly exploited that monopoly that it had. It stopped supplying rare earth metals to the world. And then the world woke up. America woke up, India woke up, Japan woke up and said, gosh, we are virtually being held to ransom. Now it's important for what China thought next, it's important for us to think
do
next.
That.
And really...
Also probably what next after rare earth metals.
Exactly.
Because as you said, that China thought about it like way back.
Almost 40 years back. Almost 40 years back. So these are the kind of things we will think next about in our series.
So what I'm understanding is that it's going to be a lot of conversations about various topics, right? From technology to ethics to laws.
Yes. It's a migration. After all, population movement in the world in the 21st century is going to be a very, very important element of how the world shapes up. I mean, already, look at what you have. You have Great Britain with an Indian origin Prime Minister, Scotland with a Pakistan origin Prime Minister, London with a Pakistan origin Mayor. So the world is going to intermingle. When I was, I think, your age, someone in school or somewhere in one of those debates, we used to go to those debates, and someone said that 50 years out, the color of this world will be coffee.
Beige, yeah.
Will be coffee.
Yeah.
Every human
Yeah.
being will be coffee colored.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand it then. I understand it now.
Yeah.
I do understand it. So I think the way populations move in the world and what that will do to the world is going to be fascinating. So we'll look at all these kinds of things.
Interesting. And one question I think, and I'm speaking for all the millennials and Gen Zs in this crowd, will it be available on Instagram Reels as a
Oh,
20-second scroller?
Oh yes, you bet. Oh yes, you bet.
Yeah.
Yes. In fact, I think the core consumption is going to happen there.
Yeah.
And it's really the guy who really wants a deeper dive
Yeah.
will come to the
Exactly.
solution.
Again, options for everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes, and I come from that world where you used to prepare one show and then forget
then
about
it's
it.
done, yeah.
But that's so changed.
Yeah.
So changed.
Wow. So I am like very excited for this because I have seen the behind the scenes stuff of some of the episodes and they look very like the conversations have value, let's just say. And in parting, what would you like to tell our listeners and viewers and consumers about Think Next and what they should expect? And
Yeah, just engage. Just engage, because we don't want this to be a one-way conversation.
True.
We also don't want it to be a finite conversation because these subjects are virtually infinite as far as
and a lot of them don't even exist
exactly
yet.
and they'll take their form and shape.
Yeah.
So what we don't want this to be is a finite series and 13 parts and done.
Yeah.
So if you've done something on crypto or something on rare earths and you engage with us and you come up with new ideas, we'd like to do another thing, another tweak to it. We don't want it to end as one show.
Yeah.
So I think it's a if I was to give a grandstanding sort of phrase, let it be a river which sort of flows. Come in, talk to us,
Yeah.
tell us how to take it forward.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get people who engage with us.
Maybe we'll get you guys.
That's what I'm saying. We'll
here.
get them on
Yeah.
the show, and get. So I don't want this to be bound by any format.
By any format, by
Or
any...
by any boundaries or anything like that. Let it flow. Let's see where it goes. If we succeed, we'll let it flow even faster. If we don't, we'll come back and seek your suggestion on how we can improve it.
Yes, and Think Next.
And Think Next, that's right.
So this was Raghav with his new offering, Think Next. Do we have any tentative date or when it will be out?
Soon. Very
मतलब
soon.
everywhere it's going to be Instagram, YouTube. और कौन से होते हैं formats? TikTok,
वो तो बैन हो गया यहाँ पे.
Facebook, everywhere. We are everywhere. We're going to be everywhere.
We're going to be everywhere.
Yes,
Yeah.
and you should be everywhere and talk to us.
And on the Quint.
On the...
Arey Baba,
what the hell?
on the Quint.
Yes. So all the places, the Quint everywhere, we're going to be there. And it's Think Next without the E. Any reason for that? The NXT?
Well, my young colleagues like you, they suggested it. And I said, fine.
Yes, see? That's what happens when you think next. Yes. So all the best for the show.
Thanks very much.
And I would really hope all of you guys just consume all of this because I can vouch for this. Even though I don't have anything much to do with the production of the content, I have seen it from the behind, like from the back seat, and it is some great content. So check it out. It's going to be Think Next everywhere. In general, follow us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. It's such a long list, first of all. I don't even want to. Editors, please यहाँ पे एक ticker जला देना. And yes, this was me, Prateek. This was Raghav.
Fun being here.
Yes, likewise. Thank you.
Thanks.